Hey everybody, it's Krista. It's winter squash season, finally. And so I want to show you today what to do with acorn squash. Because believe it or not, this is not just a fall decoration that you leave on your counter. You can actually eat it. It's edible, it's nutritious, and I want to show you how to make it taste delicious. Because we were just with some family last weekend, and a couple of them had, I don't think they'd ever eaten it before, but they were completely intimidated on how do you cut it, get the seeds out, how do you cook it, what do you do with it. So I want to show you two ideas. So the first thing I want to show you is something, this is kind of our norm of what we do with acorn squash all the time. This is kind of a repeat idea. Once you do it like once or twice, you won't even need a recipe. So it's the roasted acorn squash with garlic and pepitas. And then I'm also going to show you a great breakfast or breakfast dinner idea, egg in the whole acorn squash. So first, when it comes to acorn squash, yes, you can eat the peel. Specifically, when we're going to roast it, like what we're going to do is that's going to make the peel nice and tender. And very rarely have we ever gotten an acorn squash where the peel is really tough after we roast it. I think that happened one time with us. So we love the peel. This makes it super easy. So when you go to pick an acorn squash, it's absolutely okay if it has an orange spot on it. That's completely normal. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But one thing to keep in mind when you go to cut any of the winter squash, whether it's butternut squash, acorn squash, or even spaghetti squash, they can be pretty tough to cut. I mean, if you've got a great knife, it won't be so bad, but you can always stick these in the microwave for about a minute just to kind of take the edge off and make it a little bit easier to cut. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna cut, I have not microwaved this. We're gonna cut the ends off. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually cut it in half. Okay, so once you get it in half, here is where the seeds are. So what we're gonna do is take a spoon. They scoop out so easy. And so you're just gonna scoop the seeds out, just like so. And then for this first recipe, what we're gonna do is we are actually going to cut them into kind of, I'm gonna describe this. We're gonna cut them into kind of 2-inch slices. So what I like to do is, and we've got a bad spot, so I'm gonna trim that off, is cut them like this. And then you wanna get a flat surface. It's just gonna make it that much easier. And so then I would cut them in slices. And then, so you're gonna have these pieces kind of just like this, and then take these, cut them, and you're gonna spread them out on a baking sheet in a single layer. Then I would cut this. Now you could also, like we do with all other roasted vegetables, you could throw these in a bowl, add a little olive oil, salt, and pepper. But we're gonna go ahead and lay them out like this, single layer, and then I'm gonna take my olive oil sprayer, and we're just gonna lightly coat them with olive oil. You just kind of wanna mist them. And this is a greased baking sheet. And then we're going to just sprinkle a little salt and pepper. Okay, and then I've got the oven at 400 degrees, and we're gonna pop those in the oven. So I'm gonna show you also the other way that we're gonna cut the acorn squash for our other recipe. So once you get your acorn squash, just like this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut it in slices. So I'm gonna start this way. And you want about 1/4 of an inch slices. Now, when you do this, the first couple of slices may not be a ring. We do want it to get to rings. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna lay our rings, look like kind of little sunflowers. We're gonna lay these on this baking sheet and get that ready for the other recipe. So we're gonna put this in the oven for 15 minutes and we'll be back. Okay, when there is just a couple minutes left on this first 15 minutes of roasting, what I want you to do is take a bowl with just about a tablespoon, 1 to 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then we're going to add a couple tablespoons of pepitas. So these are just they're just pumpkin seeds. You could also use another kind of nut. You could use pine nuts, you could use chopped almonds, you could even use sunflower seeds if you wanted to. So we're gonna add a couple tablespoons of pepitas in here with the oil. And then the recipe calls for about 5 cloves of garlic. And so it's kind of your personal preference. This could be minced garlic, and you can't have too much garlic in life, right? So we're gonna add, I think maybe about 6 cloves of garlic, but we're gonna put the fresh garlic right in here. And so that's about 6. Oh heck, we'll add a couple more. Like I said, can't have too much garlic. All right, so then you're gonna get all the goodness in there, and you're gonna take and stir this up and just mix the pepitas with the garlic, with the oil. And then we're going to get this out of the oven. Oh, it smells so good. And so we are going to turn them over. They're going to be nice and lightly browned. So they're not quite completely tender yet. So what we're going to do is, because they're going to go back in the oven for about 10 minutes. But you kind of want to flip them over, and they will shrink a little. So a lot of times what I like to do is kind of crowd them together a little bit, making sure they're still in a single layer. And then we are going to take our garlic and pepitas and oil, and we're just going to drizzle over, kind of spread them out. And so they're going to go back in the oven for another 10 minutes so that the acorn squash will finish getting nice and tender, and it's going to toast those pepitas. And it's gonna make your house smell like an Italian kitchen. Okay, so we just got the acorn squash out of the oven. It smells amazing. And we are going to spoon this up. So if you did an entire acorn squash, this would be perfect for 4 people. So, oh my God. And the great thing about this is it is not only melt in your mouth delicious, but it goes with so many things. It's super versatile. It'll go with all kinds of entrees. And I hope you love it so much you'll just want to eat that all by itself. Okay, so remember the rings. Let me scoop this out of the way. So remember the rings of acorn squash that we did. So I did the exact same thing. I just sprayed them with olive oil, little salt and pepper, roasted them in the oven for 15 minutes, and also just got these out. And so we are going to flip them over, and they are starting to get tender. They're all nice and browned. And so we are going to finish the egg in the whole acorn squash. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna do 2 eggs for just my husband and I, but you could do however many that you want. So we did this also last weekend, and we did 6 eggs. So what I want you to do is you're gonna pour an egg in the center of the rings, and it's okay if the egg runs a little bit. And then in a bowl, I want you to, this is just a couple of tablespoons of chopped fresh parsley. I didn't have that much parsley. We picked up microgreens yesterday at the farmer's market. So we're also gonna throw some microgreens in there. And then this is 1/4 cup of chopped pecans. But again, you could use whatever nut you like. And then 1/4 cup of raisins. And you could also use dates. So dates would be a great substitute for the raisins in here. So you're just gonna toss these together. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna spoon them around your egg. And then these are gonna go back in the oven at 400 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes. And so what you want is you wanna get the egg white set, and it's depending on how you like your yolk. We like our yolk a little runny. And so the other pieces that don't have egg, we're just gonna take our topping, use all the topping and fill it in. We like runny yolk, not everybody does, so you cook the eggs according to your preference, but we're gonna start with 8 minutes and go from there. We just got the egg in the whole acorn squash out of the oven, so then what you would do, and perfectly the whites are set, the yolk is just a little soft, so spoon it up. Now this part's optional, but we like to drizzle it with pure maple syrup. It adds a perfect little combination of savory and sweet, really delicious. So I hope that you are interested in trying both of these recipes and check them out. And egg in the whole acorn squash and roasted acorn squash with garlic and pepitas. We hope you love them as much as we do. Keep us posted.